Hey!
Hi.
Welcome back!
Welcome back to our channel.
My name is Kathy.
And my name's Celeste.
And today Celeste is going to be telling us a true crime story. So I feel like it's going to be a good one. So buckle in and go get yourself a drink and get ready to listen to this.
Yeah. So today I'm going to be telling you about the Marilyn and Sam Sheppard case. This case had a conviction, but I don't know if I can say that it was ever really solved.
Oh.
So on July 3rd, 1954, Marilyn and Sam Sheppard were hosting a dinner party at their house. And this was something that they did pretty frequently. They had lots of dinner parties and little cookouts and barbecues with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
And on this night, it was Marilyn, Sam, their son Chip, who was 7 years old, and their neighbors, Dawn and Nancy Ahern, who were around the table having dinner. They ate dinner and they watched the sunset over Lake Erie because, and if you don't know, Lake Erie is in Ohio. It's like this huge lake. Marilyn and Sam Sheppard's home was right on the lake, so they watched the sunset. Yeah. After it got dark, Don Ahern walked his two kids home. He tucked them into bed and then he walked back to the Sheppard home where they finished off the night with watching a movie. Marilyn was sitting on her husband Sam's lap until he fell asleep and he decided to move to the couch in the living room and just go to sleep because he was tired. After a little while, Marilyn got tired too and she decided to walk the Aherns out and they went home. Then a few hours later, Sam woke up to Marilyn screaming for help. It was between 3 to 5 a.m. on July 4th, 1954 when Marilyn Sheppard was murdered in her own bed.
Oh my god.
Sam was still sleeping on the daybed when he heard Marilyn shouting, and so he got up and he went upstairs to see what was going on, and he was immediately knocked unconscious.
Oh.
When he woke up, he checked Marilyn's pulse and he found that she had passed. And then he checked to make sure that their son was okay. He heard a noise downstairs and so he ran downstairs and he saw the same intruder running towards their back door, and so Sam chased the intruder out to the beach of Lake Erie where they got in a tussle and Sam was immediately knocked unconscious again.
Oh my god.
Mayor Spencer Huck and his wife Esther received a call from Sam, and Sam was friends with them.
Oh.
When Mayor Huck answered the phone, Sam said, "For God's sake, Spen, get over here quick. I think they've killed Marilyn." When they got to the house, Sam was found shirtless and his pants had blood stains on the knee. His watch was also missing. The authorities arrived shortly after the mayor. Sam seemed really disoriented and in shock. The weird thing was that their son, his bedroom was right next to where Marilyn was murdered.
Oh.
Remember, Sam was downstairs. Sam woke up, but the child never woke up throughout the night during the incident. And not only that, but their dog was never heard barking by anyone in the neighborhood. And if you remember, Sam did say that he got in 2 encounters with the intruder, and both times the dog never barked that anyone could hear, like any of the neighbors or anything.
Yeah. So it was somebody that he knew?
Let's just backtrack a bit. I want to give you some more context as to like the people in this case. Samuel Holmes Sheppard was the youngest of 3 and he was known for his good looks. He had a dimpled chin and he was 6 foot. He went to Cleveland Heights High School where he served as president of his class for 3 years. He was just your very stereotypical jock. He was handsome, he was charming, a lot of people liked him, he was really good at sports, he did really well in football, basketball, and track, to the point that the school voted him as the school's outstanding athlete. He was a little bit like, he knew he was cute, but he was modest about it. Like, he was a little arrogant, you know, but he wasn't ever like rude to people. People liked him.
Oh, okay.
And
like a well-liked jock.
Yeah, and here's a picture of him.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. He was also voted most likely to succeed by his senior class.
Wow.
So he was just really smart, cool, kind. Everyone liked him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
When Sam graduated, he considered becoming a professional athlete, and he actually received a bunch of scholarships for sports.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted to follow the or the footsteps of his dad and his 2 older brothers who were doctors.
Oh.
And so he decided to study osteopathic medicine. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Sam met Marilyn Reese when his older brother Steve had introduced them, because Marilyn actually dated Steve before she ever knew his brother Sam.
Wow.
And so they kind of got set up together. Marilyn was a year older than Sam, so he was still in high school like when they started dating, and she had gone to college, but she was just 1 year older. So
yeah, that's not too bad.
Here's a picture of Marilyn.
Oh, she's gorgeous. That's kind of funny that the older brother set up the younger brother with his ex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he just thought that they would get along?
I think so. And I think maybe it was like an amicable is that amicable separation. Maybe they still liked each other as friends. I don't know. She had a medium build with brunette long hair and hazel eyes, and Marilyn was at Skidmore College in Saratoga in New York, while Sam was finishing up his senior year of high school. And there's not a lot of information about Marilyn online, which I found to be kind of disappointing, especially because she is the victim in this case.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer. But from what I did find, her and Sam had a lot in common. They both really liked sports. They were super active. They seemed to have the same kinds of morals and relationship standards, you know. Sam ended up going to Hanover College in Hanover, Indiana to study medicine. While he was there, he gave Marilyn his fraternity pin, kind of like a promise ring, because he was like, I love you. And during the whole time that he was in college, he stayed really loyal to Marilyn, and Marilyn stayed loyal to him. So they really liked each other. Yeah, it literally was like a high school sweetheart romance, you know.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of them together.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, they look really good together.
Yeah. Sam ended up graduating from the Los Angeles Osteopathic School of Physicians and Surgeons, where he got his official DO, which was really cool. He completed his internship and a residency in neurosurgery at the LA County General Hospital. And while he was doing that in California, Marilyn was still way across the country.
Oh,
and they just stayed in a long-term, like a long-distance relationship during that time. And they stayed in contact that whole time. They were really committed to each other.
That's so sweet.
And yeah, and they only saw each other on the weekends and on holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every weekend? Or like some weekends?
Like some weekends,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. That's hard, especially at that age when you're you're in college. You know, there's a lot of parties and stuff. That's really cute that they just like stayed together and loyal.
I honestly think that was kind of like a testament to their like commitment to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in September of 1945, Sam asked Marilyn to come to California, where they ended up getting married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and none of their families were there because obviously their families lived across the country, you know.
Yeah.
But they were so happy. They like had talked about marriage. This was something they always really wanted with each other. And they ended up renting an apartment together, and Marilyn found a part-time job in California. And then they decided to try for a baby, but unfortunately Marilyn had a miscarriage.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But then in 1947, they ended up having a baby boy, and they named him Samuel Reese Sheppard, and he went by the nickname Chip. Eventually, Sam and Marilyn decided to move back to Ohio because they wanted to be close to Samly. Because they wanted to be close to family. And because Sam's dad was putting a lot of pressure on... That's funny. Samly. Come on. And Sam's dad put a lot of pressure on him because he wanted Sam to come work at the hospital where he was at and where Sam's 2 older brothers were at, because they were all doctors. So it was like he just wanted him back with the family, you know, the family hospital.
Yeah.
And so they decided to go back, and they stayed in an apartment until Sam's dad loaned them some money to get a house. And so they bought this beautiful house right on Lake Erie.
Wow.
It was a 4-bedroom home with 2 stories. And they were really excited to be on Lake Erie because they love to jet ski and do like sports things, you know? So it was like perfect for them.
Yeah.
So they were really happy. And here's a picture of their house.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. And it was the 40s, so most women during the time did follow traditional gender roles. And that's how Marilyn was. She was a homemaker. She took care of the baby. She cleaned the house. She made all the food. And because Sam was a doctor, they were able to afford the help from maid once a week, which was nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that Marilyn wouldn't have to do it all by herself.
Yeah.
Marilyn and Sam both really enjoyed sports. Like I said, their home was right on Lake Erie, so they like to do all the jet skiing activities. They actually co-owned a boat with Mayor Huck and his wife Esther, the ones that arrived on the crime scene.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and they loved to go out on the water. People said that they worked all winter, really, really hard all winter, so that they could spend all their time out on the lake in the summer.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So now that you have more of a background on Marilyn and Sam, there's a lot about the night of the murder that is really strange. This is only what I've mentioned so far that we're gonna go through.
Okay.
Number one, why did Sam call the mayor instead of the police?
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he call the cops? And why wouldn't the mayor be like, why aren't you calling the cops?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I don't know, but I feel like that, you know.
Yeah. And number two, how did Sam wake up downstairs but the kid, like their kid, never woke up at all?
Yeah, and the dog.
Yeah, and the dog never made a noise. Like, I just think those things are so strange. Which is interesting because I never thought about it, but when you were like, so it's somebody that they know? I never thought about that. But that's a really good point. What if it was somebody that they knew? I don't know. All of it just seems so weird. To give more context, Mayor Huck and his wife Esther got to the Sheppard home around 6 a.m. And that's when they found Sam shirtless in his office. He was holding his neck in pain, and he went through and just told them what happened. They were like, what happened? And he was like, I'll tell you. In his own words, he stated that he woke up to Marilyn screaming upstairs. He went upstairs and he saw a white form by their bed. And
Like a ghost?
I don't know. And so he obviously went to like attack the person and get them out. That's when he was knocked unconscious. He woke up, he checked Marilyn's pulse. He went and checked on their kid to make sure their kid was okay. He heard a noise downstairs. He went downstairs. He saw the intruder running out. He ran and chased him down the beach of Lake Erie. They got in a fight and Sam was again knocked unconscious. And then when he woke up, he was shirtless and his watch was missing, and he ran inside to call the mayor.
To call the mayor.
So he was all wet, and he also had blood on his knee. The cops get there shortly after the mayor and his wife, about 6:02 a.m., to a super gruesome crime scene. And Sam tells them the same exact story that he told the mayor. The only additional information that he gave the police was that the intruder had bushy hair. So, yeah.
Okay.
And he told them that the reason why he probably didn't remember much was because he got knocked unconscious twice, which is fair. And they didn't really know what to expect, but his story to them seemed a little weird. And so in cases like these, most of the time it is the husband.
Yeah.
So they just kind of assumed that he knew more than he was saying, or maybe it was him. This part is going to get a little bit graphic, so I'm going to go ahead and put a timestamp on the screen. So if you want to skip through, then I completely understand. Marilyn was bludgeoned to death. She was hit 35 times total, and she was hit 27 times in the face. She was nearly unrecognizable, and she had several curved cuts on her face and on her neck. She had severe defensive wounds, including broken nails and a broken tooth, suggesting that she likely bit her intruder so hard that her tooth broke. Her shirt was pushed up and her pants were pulled down on one leg. Luckily, there were no signs of sexual assault other than that, but it was really, really strange. Her entire torso was exposed. She was hanging off the bed in a really strange way, which also would have made it impossible for her to be sexually assaulted. You know the bed frame, like the back part of it? And then like at the bottom of the mattress, there's like another part of the bed frame that kind of sticks up. There was like a wooden bar and then another wooden bar and then like the mattress, and she was like between the two bars. Like she had been pulled down, and so her legs were hanging off the bed and the wooden part was over her torso. They also found that she was 4 months pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah. The cops did a horrible job at the scene. They pretty much just let everyone walk all over it. There was this man named Otto Graham, and he was the star quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. He came over and he was like, "What's going on?" The cops were like, "Come on in." And they just like...
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Because he's a famous guy, I guess. I don't know. So they let him in and he walked all over the scene and he like made a quote about the scene, which I didn't include because I'm like, you could just go Google it if you want.
It's so irrelevant.
I just think it's weird that he was even there.
Yeah.
But his comment had something to do with the extreme amount of blood. He said that it looked like a bloodbath, basically.
Wow. That's so sad.
Yeah. Another strange thing about this case was that after the cops had arrived, Sam was sent to the hospital to get his neck and like his injuries checked out. Guess who looked at him? It was his brother. Because remember, his brothers and his dad worked at the hospital.
Yeah.
So his brother did the checkup. Which is interesting because it's like, because she had defensive wounds, what if he had those same wounds on his body but they weren't ever accounted for because his brother did the checkup? I don't know. Maybe not, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. Just a little sketchy. Which is just, I feel like it's just all so weird.
it's super sketchy.
Yeah. It's like, and maybe the cops should have had a doctor that they appointed to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, the conflict of interest is so obvious. Like,
yeah, exactly. And the cops thought that maybe this was a robbery gone wrong or something like that because there were so many things around the house that just suggested that a robbery may have happened. There were a bunch of little things that were missing throughout the home. And then on top of that, when they got there, they were looking around to see if there were any other signs of a robbery. And they found that Sam's medical bag had been dumped out.
Oh.
And his equipment was all over the ground, like in the hallway. What's weird is nothing was missing from his medical bag. And then on top of that, they saw that in his office, all the drawers were pulled out, but that nothing was missing and everything was like still in place. Almost as if whoever the intruder was just slowly opened the drawers and then walked away. Yeah. So
That doesn't seem very likely.
yeah. Like I said, a bunch of stuff was missing, but get this, it was found in the bush later at the Sheppard's home. All of the stolen items, including Sam's watch, but his shirt was never found. And it was just shoved in the bush. It was just discarded in a duffel bag, like in a bush, like at their house. It wasn't even far away. It was like at their house. Yeah.
I feel like if there was an intruder and he did steal a bunch of stuff and then he was like, oh my gosh, I'm scared that I'm gonna get caught, he would get rid of them in a dumpster somewhere.
Yeah.
Not at the scene of the crime.
Or like throw it in the ocean. And
Yeah.
that's also why I'm like,
Yeah, true.
I feel like or not the ocean,
the
lake.
the ocean? Yeah.
That's another thing for me is like, if it was Sam, why would he be so stupid to just throw this stuff in at his own house in the bush?
True.
You know?
True.
Like, come on. He's a doctor.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a doctor.
The coroner arrived on the scene. His name was Sam Gerber. So just to avoid confusion, I'm just going to call him Gerber. Basically, from the beginning, Gerber felt like Sam did it. Because in his opinion, this did not look like a robbery. He did his own little investigation and decided that it was Sam. So he didn't make any effort to recover fingerprints or any blood evidence from the scene.
Because you think it was Sam, you should have done your due diligence.
Yeah. People also heard Gerber talking to the other police at the scene being like, the doctor did it. He definitely did it. He sent 2 cops to go talk to Sam while he was in the hospital recovering from his injuries. And the goal was to get him to confess. Like, that was their goal. They wanted to like hear him say that he did it.
Wow.
But when they got there, one of the cops was like, I don't know about my partner, but I think you killed your wife.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and Sam stuck to his story and he was like, no, I didn't. Like, I didn't do anything to her. And with Gerber's initial bias towards Sam, he was like, I'm gonna question him myself. And so he went and questioned him. Afterward, he was like, he definitely did it.
Based on what, though? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little suspicious of Sam right now, too, but I feel like if I was Gerber, I would be getting all the evidence, you know, so I could be like, I think it was him, and this is why.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And also, it's literally your job.
Yeah, that's literally your job. Like,
come on. Him choosing to not get the fingerprints and the blood evidence doesn't make any sense at all. It was more so that he just wanted to blame him because he just wanted him to be guilty.
yeah.
Not because he actually wanted to prove that he was guilty.
Yeah.
You know? It's just negligence, you know?
Yeah.
So, hate that.
Hate that.
Even though the cops were like, we know it's you, Sam, they did some more digging because obviously they needed a motive. You can't just like tell someone that they did it without motive. And so they started digging around and they found motive. They found out that Sam was cheating on Marilyn. Yeah, and he was cheating on her with this lady named Susan Hayes. And they were doing it all over the place. They would, like, go to have intimate relations in, like, the car, at her house, like, wherever.
Wow.
And not only that, he was also having an affair with one of his patients, which is really weird. And,
that's
like,
weird.
maybe other patients, I don't know. But really strange. When he was questioned about his affair, he just told them that him and Susan Hayes were nothing more than good friends. And the cops were like, okay. With that, the public confirmed that he wasn't just a liar and a cheater, but that he also had motive for murder. And rumors started flying around, and all of a sudden, everybody was like, it was you, you know, and they were being so freaking intense.
Wow.
And on July 21st, the press released a headline on a paper that said, "Why no inquest? Do it now, Dr. Gerber." So basically, the public was demanding that Dr. Gerber question Sam and do it in front of everyone. And so he did.
Oh.
The proceedings took place in a high school gymnasium. It was packed with people. Like, there were people everywhere there.
Wow.
And Gerber sat down and asked Sam questions, and Sam just answered them to the best of his ability. One of the questions that they asked was whether Sam ran or walked when he was checking on Marilyn. He said, "I can't give you a specific recollection. I proceeded as rapidly as I could." And the observers thought that his answers to all the questions, including this one, were like really cold and detached. The people that were there, it was like a crowd of people. They obviously were not happy with Sam's answers. They felt like he was just like not being very compassionate, and they did not like him. And Bill Corrigan was Sam's defense attorney, and he was there, but he couldn't sit with Sam while he was being questioned. So he was like up on the stands with the crowd of people. He actually hired a private court reporter, and at one point during the proceedings, he yelled at the reporter and was like, "Make sure you put in there that everyone's hooting and hollering." And he got physically removed because he did that, because he like shouted it. And so Gerber was like, "Get him out of here," and they like took him out. And as that was happening, because he was Sam's defense attorney, the crowd was going wild. They were like, "Yeah, like get him out of here." Like they were just being so intense. Like they were so intense about this whole thing. They did not want to believe anything other than him being guilty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At that point, they were convinced.
Yeah, at that point, they had it in their minds that it was him. It couldn't be anybody else. With that general opinion, the media really amplified that, you know? They're letting out headlines being like, "Sam Gerber's guilty, bring him in." Like, they're being so intense, and like, it's just, you know, it's just so intense.
Yeah.
After the inquest, another paper headline dropped that said, "Quit stalling, bring him in." It's very clear that this was group polarization and that it was just getting more and more intense.
They were just hyping each other up in that energy.
Exactly. And I can't think of anything other than like the pitchfork mob. You
Yeah,
know, like
literally.
people running and just being like, "Hit him," you know, without like trying to actually find additional answers or an explanation.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the goal should not be, "Oh, I think this person is guilty, let's put them away." It should be, what happened to this person who did this? Let's find that out. And I think a lot of the times people get lost in that, like you said, the group polarization.
Yeah.
And then the media, this isn't the first case that you've covered that we see the media just take a headline and run with it, you know?
Exactly.
That compromises everything.
Yeah.
You know, it should be objective. Everything crime related should be objective.
Yeah, until it's not.
Yeah, until
with
it's not.
Evidence.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So during all of this, Sam stuck to his original story. And with the general public feeling confident that Sam did it, his arrest followed closely after. It was on August 17th, 1954, and his trial began October 18th, 1954.
Wow.
The jury was not sequestered, and they were all from the local area, so as you can imagine, it wasn't really like a fair trial.
No.
There was a lot of evidence that pointed to Sam, especially with this being like a quote-unquote robbery. There was no forced entry. There was no murder weapon found. There was no sign of a struggle between Sam and the intruder. Like, if there had been, like, you would think furniture would be knocked over.
Yeah.
Things would be broken. The bag of stolen items that were covered in blood and literally just in the bush, you know?
Yeah, at the house.
Yeah, they were recovered at the house. And on top of that, there was motive, you know? Marilyn was pregnant. She was 4 months pregnant, and Sam had been having an affair. So to the public, public. And like, honestly, to me, when I first heard this, I was like, yeah, it's him, you know?
Yeah, same.
In court, Gerber, the coroner, he was the prosecution's star witness. And he pointed out in court that Marilyn had a blood stain on her pillow that looked very similar to what could be used as the murder weapon, and that looked like a surgical instrument. So he showed the imprint of the blood stain in court. He was like, look, this looks like a surgical instrument. That was the murder weapon. Where is it? Basically just suggesting that it was Sam's surgical instrument.
Yeah.
You know? But they never found it, and also that was just his own impression of the stain.
Yeah.
And it's definitely possible, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that Gerber just had a general disdain towards Sam from the beginning, so I feel like I'm just like, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to believe somebody when he clearly had a vendetta from the get-go, and then also he refused to do his job.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, how much can we believe you?
Yeah. Either way, like, none of this looks good on Sam, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if it's true.
Yeah.
And there were several witnesses that testified in court, including Susan Hayes, the woman that he was having an affair with. And in court, she just basically told them about her intimate affair with Sam. And here's a picture of her.
Oh, wow. She looks kind of similar to,
Yeah.
doesn't she?
Yeah, and she was much younger than Sam, so a little weird.
Marilyn.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Marilyn. Oh, that's okay. She was a hospital technician, so she worked with Sam. Despite what Susan Hayes had stated in court, Sam stated that him and Marilyn had a really good marriage. He stated that they, of course, had, you know, marital disagreements, probably, you know, about like just random things, but he stated that they were really happy together, and like he really loved her and she really loved him, and that he loved her and he would never have done anything to hurt her. He also mentioned that there was never any discussion of them getting a divorce or any kind of like separation or anything like that. As I said before, Sam's lawyer was a man named Bill Corrigan, and the main defense that he presented to the court was Sam's injuries. So if you remember, he was like holding his neck in pain.
Yeah.
He got like a really serious neck injury, and his lawyer brought in a bunch of people from the hospital to have them verify Sam's injuries, and they did. His lawyer presented to the court the injuries and stated that it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, to self-inflict those kinds of injuries.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
going to be my next question.
Yeah. However, it is possible that the injury that he got was from Marilyn trying to fight him off.
Yeah,
You know?
true.
Bill Corrigan really hoped that the jury would accept this as enough of a defense, basically. The prosecution felt that the affair was enough to condemn Sam as guilty. Like I said before, the evidence that was stacked against him really didn't do him any favors, because on December 21st, 1954, after a 4-day deliberation, the jury found Sam guilty of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Dang.
With the possibility of parole in 10 years.
Dang.
So I'm going to be touching on some pretty heavy incidents right now, so if you want to skip ahead, I'm going to put another timestamp right here. So on January 7th, 1955, literally less than like a few weeks, because he went to prison on December 21st, 1954. On January 7th, 1955, Sam got word in prison that his mother died by suicide. And then 11 days after that, his father died of cancer.
Oh.
Yeah. Sam was allowed to attend the funerals, but he had to wear handcuffs while he was there. Later, Marilyn's father also died by suicide.
Dang. That's so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of death and grief obviously followed Marilyn's passing, you know?
Yeah.
And this really hung over Sam's head because I'm sure he felt like it was his fault, you know?
Yeah.
And that's horrible. All of that is horrible. And also, what if Sam was innocent?
Yeah.
You know? But like I said, people never thought that Sam was innocent, and that wasn't something that they were ever going to consider.
Yeah.
When he was eligible for parole, he tried over and over and over again. The Ohio courts rejected his appeals over and over and over.
Wow.
And you might think that this is where the case ends. However, new developments in the case offered promise of a retrial for Sam. A criminalist named Dr. Paul Kirk stated that Sam was right-handed and that the intruder must have been left-handed because of the blood spatter evidence that he found.
Wow.
We've talked about blood spatter, and it's like, how reliable is it? It can be really helpful, but we need more. And that's exactly what Dr. Paul Kirk gave us. So Dr. Kirk also stated that some of the blood in the room did not belong to any of the Sheppards. And this suggested that the killer may not have been Sam.
Oh my gosh.
Additionally, there was blood all over the room, and the only blood that was found on Sam's body was on his knee. However, I do think it's important to remember that we never found his shirt. So, not we,
That's
but
true.
they
Yeah.
never found his shirt.
Yeah.
Then, unexpectedly, in November of 1959, a man named Richard Eberling was arrested and picked up for larceny. Was he, you might ask? He actually used to wash windows at the Sheppard's home before Marilyn was murdered. Why does he matter, you ask? Because he was arrested for larceny, the cops were searching his home, and they found a bunch of stolen items, and amongst those items they found Marilyn's cocktail ring. Yeah, so they were like, why does he have this, little creep?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he did get in trouble for theft, but when the cops took him in for questioning, one of the cops was like, I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and I'm gonna ask him a really specific question and see if he answers. And so he asked Richard Eberling why his blood was found in the Sheppard home in 1954. Richard Eberling surprised the cop when he said that he had cut his hand when he was removing windows at the Sheppard home, shortly before Marilyn passed.
Whoa.
They really suspected that it was him, but they did a lie detector test and he passed, so they couldn't really look into it further.
Dang.
Which is kind of dumb because I think that, I don't know for sure, but I think that lie detector tests are like, they monitor your heart rate. And I'm like, if he's a sociopath, then he wouldn't have a heart rate.
Yeah,
you know,
he'd just
he
be
probably
fine.
doesn't have a heart, you know?
Yep.
So like, come on.
Yeah. And there's ways to trick it too.
Yeah.
Like if you take a medicine that just like relaxes you.
Oh my gosh, see?
Yeah, I think.
And then in 1961, a Chicago reporter wrote a book all about the Sam Sheppard case and mentioned these specific developments, including like the Sam Sheppard being right-handed, the information about Richard Eberling, and he was the first person to write about the possibility that Sam was wrongfully convicted.
Wow.
In the same year, Sam's lawyer, Bill Corrigan, passed away. So Sam had to find another lawyer, and he did. He found another lawyer. His name was F. Lee Bailey, and I'm just going to refer to him as Bailey. But Bailey, in April of 1963, filed a petition for habeas corpus to the federal court, basically stating that Sam was not given a fair trial because of the publicity, you know? He stated that this violated Sam's right to due process of the law. In July of 1964, Sam's conviction was actually overturned. And during the time that Sam was in prison, he had developed a new love interest, and her name was Ariane Tebben Johans, and she traveled from Germany to visit Sam in prison.
Wow.
However, people found out that her older sister was actually married to a Nazi.
Oh.
So, yeah, that obviously shed some negative light on Sam.
Yeah.
Which didn't help him at all.
Yeah.
And despite that, he got married to her after his release. His happiness was very short-lived because the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals reinstated his conviction.
Oh.
Because they were like... He remained free on bail pending an appeal to the Supreme Court.
Oh.
And then in February 1966, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in Sam's case. And 3 months later, they voted 8-1 to reverse the Sixth Circuit decision to reinstate Sam's conviction. So they reiterated that the media had a huge impact on his case and that he deserved a fair trial. And prosecutors announced their plan to retry Sam for Marilyn's murder. If you remember, he got convicted in 1954, and his second trial began in October of 1966. So,
Wow.
11 years later. The prosecution altered their strategy. They decided that they wanted to leave Gerber completely out because he obviously had a general opinion of Sam from the beginning, and they just felt like it wouldn't help their case. And instead, they decided to focus primarily on his infidelity.
They probably also knew that there's so many faults with Gerber that the new lawyer would probably see through that and be like, call it out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. A key moment came when Mary Cowan, a medical technologist at the coroner's office, actually testified about the blood spots on Sam's watch. She stated that the blood spots were a result of blood spatter when Sam was murdering Marilyn.
Oh.
Yeah, and she obviously suggested that it was Sam. But Sam's defense countered with Dr. Kirk, who questioned the blood evidence, and he stated that the blood looked more like a contact transfer. And so they were like, nah, that doesn't really hold up, basically. Bailey presented an alternative theory that Esther Hook killed Marilyn. And if you don't remember Esther Hook, she's Mayor Hook's wife, and they were the first ones to show up at the crime scene.
Yeah.
And his new attorney, Bailey, stated that Esther was angry that Marilyn had been having an affair with Mayor Hook. Yeah, but there was no evidence of an affair. They brought a delivery man on trial to testify, and the delivery man stated that he had seen Marilyn sitting at her kitchen table having coffee with an older distinguished gentleman. They ended up determining that that was Mayor Hook, but there was no proof that they had an intimate relationship, just that they were close.
Yeah.
But the defense thought that it was possible that Esther Hook murdered Marilyn with the help of her husband, the mayor.
Wow.
Which I feel like is so reaching.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it logically, like that would mean that Marilyn got murdered by Esther and the mayor, and then they somehow got home, and then Sam called them right after they murdered her, like,
yeah,
and then they would have had to show up to the crime scene and act like they didn't know anything that was going on. Like that would take extreme acting skills, in my opinion, and I just don't think that that's very likely.
Yeah, and the mayor would also have to, it's like, which one of them was it that he fought off and like at the lake then?
Yeah.
You know?
During the trial, Sam chose not to testify, despite the risk of jurors inferring guilt. And in his closing argument, Bailey argued that the real killer was somebody else, leaving unanswered questions about the motive. And after a day of deliberation, the jury initially leaned towards acquittal, but eventually reached a unanimous decision. Sam was indeed innocent. And on November 16th, 1966, Sam Sheppard was acquitted and regained his freedom.
Wow.
Yeah. Despite that, Sam's life took a really tragic turn.
No.
Yeah. He went back to his medical practice, but because he had spent 10 years in prison, his skills had really deteriorated, and he was having a lot of problems during operations, and he made such bad mistakes that during 2 operations, he actually killed 2 of his patients. He developed a really bad drinking problem, and he also displayed symptoms of kleptomania, and he struggled in his marriage with Ariane Teben-Johans, who eventually filed for divorce in 1968.
Wow.
Yeah. Sam's relationship with his son became really strained, and in a really downward spiral, Sam entered the world of professional wrestling. He took on the name Killer Sheppard, and he started that in 1969, which is like, Killer Sheppard?
Come on.
Why would you choose that name, my boy?
Yeah.
Then Sam Sheppard died at the age of 46 due to liver disease in 1970. His death did not put an end to the mystery of how Marilyn Sheppard had passed away. Richard Eberling, the Sheppard's window cleaner, remember him? He actually drew attention again in 1989 because he was convicted of first-degree murder in a insurance scheme involving an elderly lady.
Wow.
Yeah. Eberling actually hinted to his involvement in Marilyn's murder.
He did?
Yeah, during that time, like when he was getting convicted of this murder. And so everyone was like thinking that he like maybe did have more to do with it than he said.
Wow.
Which is so frustrating because if he did do it and he just somehow passed the lie detector test, like so many people died because the cops didn't do their job.
Yeah,
you know?
literally.
In 1997, Sam Sheppard's son, Chip, decided to file a civil suit against Cuyahoga County for wrongful imprisonment. Sam Sheppard's body was exhumed for forensic analysis. The DNA results are so shocking because they did the test and they actually found that blood and semen was found at the crime scene that did not belong to either Sam Sheppard or Marilyn Sheppard. So that supported Sam's claim that an intruder had broken in and attacked his wife while he slept nearby. Marilyn's body was also exhumed because they wanted to check the fetus to see if they could just test it and see if it was Sam's. But they found that the fetus had actually been autopsied, which was really frustrating because they thought that maybe the coroner's office was trying to conceal evidence. If you remember, Gerber was the coroner, so like that fits his motive, you know? If he was trying to conceal evidence, that makes sense.
Yeah. And he would be able to through that.
Yeah. A civil jury re-examined the evidence in 2000, and Sam's legal team argued in court that Richard Eberling must have been the true killer. But the county refuted this, stating that the blood evidence cleared Richard Eberling, which it actually did because Richard Eberling was type A and the blood that they found was type O. So it couldn't have been him.
Wow.
But it was somebody else's blood there.
Who was it?
Yeah. County's lawyers also claimed that the original 1954 jury was correct, that Sam was guilty.
It's possible, but who then? If he was guilty, then he had help from someone.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the jury ultimately sided with the county, with 6 of the 8 jurors convinced of Sam's guilt, and Marilyn's killer still remains unknown. Sam Sheppard is the most believed theory, and that is the case of Marilyn and Sam Sheppard.
Wow. That is so frustrating to not know what happened to her.
Yeah, and it's like, once again, because of this media frenzy, the victim was lost, you know? And I hate cases like that because I just feel like it's so unfair.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's not people trying to get down to the bottom of it. They're just trying to, like, fit it to their own motive. And I feel like that is just so messed up.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah.
The media, the, like, mob mentality, like, the people with their own motives. Marilyn got lost in all of that, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I think you did a great job telling the story, though.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling us that.
I'm going to finish my makeup.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.
Okay.
Alrighty, so that was the case. Thank you for coming along with us, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here and supporting us.
Yeah, and what do you think happened? Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on your notifications.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
If you ever